All right, future web devs, my name's Rob. I'm with freeCodeCamp, and in this video, we're going to be going over freeCodeCamp's lab that they have for us, which is building a tribute page. So super excited about going through it. It's user story based, so it's not step by step, but we're going to go through it. Okay. If this is your first time to our channel, welcome. All right, we are going to go through this module from an instructor point of view. That's what I've been doing with freeCodeCamp modules. They're free to go through, and we're just trying to go through them and explain them to you to help you along in your journey. And all we ask for in exchange is a simple thumbs up on this video for helping you out and going through this in a nice methodical way. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive in to this tribute page. Let's see what we're actually building, and then we're going to go ahead and make it look exactly like the example they give us. All right, let's go ahead and get going. Okay, so this is what we're going to be creating here. This is Dr. Norman. I'm not going to butcher the last name here, but apparently a Nobel Peace Prize winner, of course. And it looks like we have a nice image here, and then we have some historical data of a timeline with bullet point list here. So again, I haven't gone through this entire thing at all. I haven't even looked at it really. And so you're going to join me with that journey and making this, because I do know that just looking at this, and this is a freeCodeCamp kind of tradition here, which is, hey, fulfill all the user stories and hey, give it your own style, make it personal. But from what I've seen and helped out folks in the past with this is, hey, let's get it looking like the example that they give. And then if you want to tweak it and make it your own, that's what you can do on your own individual time and tweak it and make it look nice and pretty for you in your project. Okay. So let's go ahead, dive into these user stories and see what we need to do to make this page pop. Okay. Okay, so user story number one, it has us coming over here. It says your tribute page should have a main element with the corresponding ID of main, which contains all the other elements. So let's go ahead and put our main element in here. Again, main is a semantic element, and it does help out those screen readers and lets SEO know that, hey, whatever goes inside here is considered our main section. Okay. So if you have been following again us for a long time, one of my things that I'm always telling you watchers, you HTML, you web gurus here, is anytime you open up a tag, make sure you immediately close it. This happens naturally with IDEs like Visual Studio Code. It does it for you automatically. You don't have to think about it. But because we're in the web-based browser here, utilizing freeCodeCamp's editor, it doesn't do auto-completion. So avoid yourself the headache. And whenever you create an open tag, just go ahead and close it. Don't do any attributes quite yet. Don't do any of that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that back and not highlight it. And I'm just going to section it off like you see right here. Now, as far as what goes inside here, it does say that it wants the attribute of an ID and it wants that to be set to main. Now, in all my videos, I will go ahead and I'm not going to check each user story when I come down here, and I could hit the run tests every single time, but I'm typically going to wait till the end to do that. And there's going to be a chapter down below in case I missed anything going along with this. But that is going to satisfy user story number one. Let's go ahead and do the next user story. Okay, so user story number two with building a tribute page for freeCodeCamp. It says we should see an element with the ID of title. Okay. This should contain the string that describes the subject of your tribute page. And so I'm going to use exactly what we have here, which is the Dr. Norman. I'm going to copy that to my clipboard. And here's what you need to think in your mind is, hey, what would be a good element to use for a title? And that is going to be an H1. So we're going to go ahead and do the opening and closings of H1. We're going to put the text and paste it in there. And then it did say that it wanted the ID of this to be title. Okay. And that should satisfy user story number 2. So I just want to take a real brief moment here to talk a little bit about Pre-Code Camp and what we do here for you. If you are looking to accelerate your learning path with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, then Pre-Code Camp might be for you. Take a look at the description, but I tell you, the reasons that people want to go with Pre-Code Camp is because we can accelerate your time of learning this. You get live classes where you're able to get your questions asked and have them answered. That's one of the big ones here. And then we also have these bite-sized modules, video modules that walk you through things so you can code along with the video, you can get the knowledge, but then at the end of the chapter, at the end of these lessons, it's going to have you do a little miniature challenge for you to complete, for you to feel good, because we're going to grade it. We're going to give you live feedback, and then you are going to keep continuing on with your journey. So if you are looking and you're enjoying this video so far, you're liking the content, and you want to go at this at a higher rate speed, hey, take a look at Pre-Code Camp, take a look at the descriptions, because there's a very special discount that's waiting for you. That is a really great offer that I don't think that you'd want to turn down. All right. So anyways, let's go ahead and go back to the code and let's finish up these steps. So user story number 3, it tells us on here, you should either utilize a figure or a div element with the ID of image div. And so you may want to ask yourselves, or you may want to do a little Google search and maybe remember what the figure element does here for us. And so we can take a look at W3 Schools. Here's the figure tag. Figure tag element is used to mark up a photo in your HTML document. And then later on, you can utilize this here called a fig caption element, which will define the caption of your photo. And it gave us a little bit of an idea of what that looks like in written code. And so we can apply this to our project here that we're trying to do for the tribute page. So I'm going to come down here. I'm still going to be inside the main, and this is where we're going to do figure. Okay, again, open and closing tags. That is very key. Now, it did tell us on here for that user story number 3 that it wants the ID to be img-div. So that's what I'm going to do. ID, image, div. Okay. Now, what goes inside here, that's going to, looks like it's going to be in our future user stories. So we're going to go ahead and let's do user story number 4 next. So user story number 4, it tells us within the image div, which is right here, the figure, you should see an image element with a corresponding ID of image. So images, they are void elements. So we're just going to go ahead and do img. And we could put the closing slash in there, but we need to have a couple things in here. We need the alt key. Okay, and we can just put this in here of Dr. Norman. Okay, and next in here requires a source. So I'm going to go ahead and set that equal to empty quotes for right now. And then the last thing that it wants us to do on here is give it an ID of image. Okay. Now, how are we going to get this image to go in here? And I told you that I'm going to base everything off of the example that it gave us. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this example. I'm going to right click this photo, and then I'm going to copy address. So once I do that, I have a nice image URL friendly that can actually go in here for the SRC. And you can see that the image is now appearing right there. Perfect. All right. I think that will satisfy us for user story number 4. So now we're on number 5, I believe, which is within the image div element, which is this one right here. Let's go ahead and add a corresponding image caption element. Okay. So we are already dealing with figure, and we supplied an image, and then still inside of the figure, but after the image, we can add something here called the fig caption. And we can get that from here. If you remember the W3 schools, this fig caption is what we are needing. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this element from it and go back to our tribute page. And again, I want to put this inside of the figure. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and paste it in there. Then I'm going to tweak it to what I need. Now, I am just going to grab from the example here, example project. If we see this right here, this is going to be our fig caption. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. And now I can have the fig caption be a little more relevant to the picture. And later on, of course, we can style this to be a little different. Okay. All right. So that should satisfy us for user story number 5. Okay. So user story number 6, it says we need to see an element with the corresponding ID of tribute info, which contains textual content describing the subject of the tribute page. So the way that we're going to go about it, this is going to happen after the figure. So I'm going to hit the enter key to give ourselves some room for the next element. And this is going to be a section. Okay. We are separating this with another semantic tag. And the ID for this is going to be tribute link. All right. Perfect. That looks good for this part right here. I'm sorry, this should be tribute info, not link. I got ahead of myself here. So tribute info for user story number 6. And then we're going to go ahead and go into user story number 7, I believe. But looking at 7, it looks like we need to put some information inside of here for 6. And so what I'm going to do is, if we're taking a look at the example here, everything that you see down here is going to be more or less from in this section that we're actually trying to build out here. So it looks like I have, maybe it's an H3 here, talking about here's the timeline of the doctor's life. And then I'm just going to do a couple bullet points in here. And if you want to do the rest, you definitely can for your portfolio purposes. It's just going to be following the exact same pattern. So let's go ahead and knock out this part here, as well as just a few timeline parts for it before we move on to the next step. Okay, so let me go ahead and close out of it. Inside of the section here, let's go ahead and do an H3. And again, I'm just doing opening and closing tags here. And then inside of this, we're going to go ahead and type in here, here's a timeline of doctor's life. Okay, so here we go. So you can see that it's appearing here on the preview. And while we're here, I know we're going to get ready to do some CSS work. Let's just go ahead and give this an ID of headline. Okay, and that way later on we can target it with some CSS. So that way you can see how that would work. Okay, so next is let's do that bulleted list to get just a few timelines on there. All right, so this is going to be a bulleted list here, and we're just going to do an unordered list. And again, closing tags. We're not doing any classes yet. We're not doing any attributes. It's just open and close tags to help you out with this. Next, let's go ahead and do the LI. Again, open and close for the LI. And then what's going to go in here is the very first one is 1914, and it's going to be in Fresno, Iowa. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to do 1914, born in Fresno, Iowa. Now, if we scroll down and look at it, it doesn't look too great. To get the 1914, I'm going to cut it, and that way I can do the strong. Again, open and close for the strong, and then I can paste that in there. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at it. Now the 1914 is bold, and that looks perfect. So now we can take this and copy it and then paste it. Okay. Now we don't need 2 of the 1914s, but we can do the 1933 and just update it. And then what goes on the right side of this one, it says leaves his family farm to attend the University of Minnesota. And so I'm going to go ahead and paste that there. And we should see that down here. Okay. Now, again, it doesn't look exactly like the example because we haven't done any styling to this whatsoever. Now, if you are wanting to continue on with this process, then that is what I would suggest you do, is just keep on going down the timeline that you saw in the example. Maybe have it up on one side of the screen and then grab the information from it. But everything is going to go inside of this UL. And because you're got an ordered list, then you have a list item, and then it's strong on the very first part of the date. Okay. All right. That should satisfy us here for this part right here, step number 6. And we got a good working example, right? Let's go ahead and go to our next user story. All right, so user story number 7, it says you should see an anchor element with the corresponding link of utilizing the ID and then the attribute link. This link will go to an outside site. Also, it will contain additional information about the subject of your attribute. Hint, you must give this element an attribute of target and set it to blank in order for your link to open up in a new tab. So what is it talking about when we're looking at this example here? It's right here. If you have the time, you should read more about this incredible human being on the Wikipedia entry. So that's what we're going to do on ours. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and copy this entire sentence here. And that way I can come down here. We're still inside the main, but now we are outside of the section. This is just going to be an H3. And as far as the tags go, make sure that we are opening and closing them. So that way we are practicing good coding etiquette there and we don't get in trouble a little later. And then I'm going to paste that entire sentence in there. So what we're doing here in user story number 7 is we are wrapping this Wikipedia entry with an anchor tag. So I'm going to cut this to my clipboard. I think I cut too much. So let me try it again. There we go. And I want to make this an anchor tag. So again, opening and closing tags on this. And then I'm going to paste in the Wikipedia entry. Okay. Now, as far as the attributes that need to go in here, we need to have the target, it says, and we want to set that to blank. Okay, that means it's going to open up in a new tab. And then lastly here, we need to provide that URL in here, and that's going to be solved with an href. And again, it can go anywhere inside of the opening tag of this. Okay. Matter of fact, to make this a little more readable, I'm just going to move it to the next line. It should not do anything to our page here, but you do see that we do get the little underline effect. And for the H, I'm just going to put Google in there for now, and you can change that later to something else. Okay. I'm just putting that in there as a placeholder. So that way we can still get credit for doing this. You may want to change it to the actual Wikipedia that came from the example. All right. And then let's see if there's anything else that we need to do to this. And it does look like we need to set the ID on here. So I'm going to do ID. I'm going to set that equal to the tribute link. All right. I think that should set us up really well for the user story number 7. Okay, let's move on to user story number 8. All right, so since user story 8 and 9 deal with CSS, let's just go ahead and work on the CSS file right now and get this page looking great. And of course, if you just want to skip down to number 8 and 9, you're more than welcome to in the chapter list, but you're going to miss out on all the styling that happens before we apply this in order to get a check marks on all of these tests. Okay. Now on the style sheet itself, let's go ahead and target the body. And so I'm going to go ahead and close out of the instructions. And that way we have a little more real estate to work with. As far as the body goes, what I'm going to do here for this, let's go ahead and set the margin here to 0, okay? And that way I can use the whole real estate of the web page. There's no inherent margins that would be on this page. Next, let's go ahead and do the text align, and let's set that to center. Okay, so that kind of centered a lot of things on here. You can see that it definitely screwed up the bullet point list, but we're going to address that later. And it got all of the text to be centered throughout the entire document. Next, let's go ahead and change the background color, or the color of the text rather. We'll do the text color. We'll just do the hashtag of 333, and that will give it that nice gray newspaper type of feel. As far as the font size, let's go ahead and increase that. And we're going to set that to 1.6. And that looks perfect. That means it increased all of the text all over. And it is using that 1.6 multiplier on there for the standard font, I believe, of 16 pixels is the standard, or it might be 12. I forget. But if you Google what is the standard root element size for font, let me know in the comments what it is, what you find out. Okay. All right. So I think that might be good here, that we could do a line height, and we can probably, let's go ahead and set this to 1.5 and see how that kind of looks. All right. That looks really good. I think we're done with the styling for the body. Let's go ahead and move on to the next thing that we would like to target, which is the main element. Okay, so inside the CSS, we're going to do the hashtag main. That's how we're going to target that. And that's because we have an ID over here of main. So what would we like to see on here? Let's go ahead and play around with the margins. We'll go ahead and do margin for the top and bottom. We'll do 30 pixels. And then for the left and right, we're going to do 8 pixels and then put the semicolon in there. Notice there's no commas in here for this. But when we have 2 digits like this, or two spaces, this goes for the top and bottom. This goes for the left and right. Okay. Next on here, as far as the padding goes, let's go ahead and do padding. And we're going to go ahead and set that to 15 pixels all around. Next, let's give it a background color here of the triple E. So it's going to be hashtag EEE. There we go. So we can kind of see what's going on there. And then finally here, let's give it a little bit of a border radius for us. And let's just do a border radius of 5 pixels. Okay. And that gave us nice little smooth rounding corners up here for our tribute page. Okay. Next element that we're going to target and work with is going to be the title. And let's just do a few things on it. We're going to make it a little bit bigger. So we're going to do the hashtag title. And in here, we're going to do font size. Let's set that to 4 rem. So this is our multiplier. It's going to multiply our root M and multiply by 4. And then next, let's go ahead and change the margin bottom, and I'm going to set that to 0. Okay. All right, perfect. That is all I think I'd want to do for it to get it to look like the document there. As far as the next thing we can do is the image div here for the figure. So let's go ahead and do this, do image div. And what do we want to put inside here? Let's go ahead and make the background to be white. Next, let's also do padding. That way we can see the background. We're going to do 10 pixels all around. And then we're going to do a margin of 0. Okay. All right. I think that's all we need for it. Now, when it comes to the image, this is where we look at the instructions to make sure that we are following it. And it wants the image to have, it should use the max width and height properties to resize responsively. So the way that we can do that is inside of the styles here, we're going to target the image. So any image on here, We're going to have a max width of 100%. Okay. And the height can be set to auto. That way it doesn't get distorted. But we do want to make sure that we put the display on this. We're going to set it to block. And the margin, we want it to be 0 on the top, but we want it to be centered here for us. And so we'll do auto, and that should work. And so the 0 is going to be for the top and bottom, and then the auto is like margin left auto, margin right auto, and that is what kind of centers an image. Next on here, let's go ahead and target the fig caption. And we're going to come down here for it, and it is going to be fig caption. It doesn't look like we gave it an ID. Let's go ahead and give it an ID. Let's set that equal to image caption. So image caption with the hashtag on there. Let's go ahead and do margins for this. The top, we would like to have 15 pixels. The left and right, we want that to be 0. And then for we're going to do the bottom here. We're just going to do 5 pixels for the bottom, and then we're going to do 0 for the left. So top is 15 pixels, the right is 0, and then 5 pixels for the bottom, and then 0 for the left. Okay. Next, let's go ahead and take a look at that headline that we created. So we're going to come down here. We'll do headline. And for the headline, let's just do a margin. Let's do 50 pixels, top and bottom. And then we're going to do 0 for the left and right. So that gave it some space. And then looks like it's already centered. So that is good there. All right, let's move on to the unordered lists. And this. So this is just going to be an unordered list. As far as it goes, let's do a max width. Let's set that to 550 pixels. If I can spell the width properly. Okay. So now it's going to be fixed to 550 pixels. Also on here, we can do text align left, right? Now we have the bullet points flushed left, just like what we needed. Line height on it, let's do 1.6. Okay. And don't forget the semicolon on there because that will screw up anything down below. And as far as the margins go, we can add some margins here real quick. We'll do a margin of 0 pixels for the top, do auto for the right. We'll do 50 pixels on the bottom, and then auto on the left. And that way it looks nice and centered there. And then we have a nice marginal space here that we see below this timeline. Now, when it comes to the LIs, we can give it a little more breathing room. So let's go ahead and do an LI. And what do we want to do for this? We'll do margin 16 pixels on the top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. And it gave it a little more space between each one of those list items there. Okay. And then let's see if there's any other things that we may want to do here. And I think that's about it as far as the styling, I think. Let's double check here. Your image should be centered within the parent element. So we've already addressed that with our image right here. This is how you can say, hey, I want this to be centered within the parent. And then the height is going to be auto and the max width 100%. Okay. All right. I think we're all done with the styling. Let me go ahead and just double check with the example project. And it may have a few things in here that ours doesn't, which is this, maybe, and that's like a paragraph tag, it looks like, but everything else looks really good as if it was based off of the example. All right. So at this point, I would say, hey, if you are wanting to tweak this, you know where things are in the tribute page on what we did for the styling aspect of this. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and test these results here. Like I told you from the very beginning, I don't go through this myself before doing these videos, and I never know if these tests are going to work, if I did them correctly. So let's go ahead and run these tests. Hopefully we get confetti or something, right? There we go. We got the confetti and we completed this challenge. Make sure you download your solution too. You made it this far. Thanks again so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, like I said, give us a thumbs up, and you may want to check out the description in this video because we do have some great things if you're looking to accelerate your learning and becoming the developer that you're looking to become in these early stages, because a great foundation means that you will be successful, and we want to help you in that. So make sure you take a look at the description up above, and we'll see you in the next video. All right, this one was fun, and we were able to get a few styling things in there as well. So take care. See you in the next video. Bye.